all the way out. And they were all connected. They were taken
Oh.
apart when excavation works took place because of large trees that grew out of the building. So on top would have been 3 or 4 feet thick with limestone, and they would seal it up. So they would place you in there and carry on.
You place you in there when you're
When,
gone.
when you're gone, yes.
So are there like
They're tombs.
tombs? I mean, people in there?
Not anymore?
They took them all out.
Yeah.
Where did they put them?
A lot of it went back to Canada, to different labs to do testing to confirm the origin and the exact type of people that were here, to make sure that it was actually the ancient Mayans.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah. Now here, this building is still in its original state, but this was never done by Dr. Pendergast. He thought this was maybe a barrier just to separate both of the plazas. But Dr. Jaime Awe, a local archaeologist from Belize, did this one and he found kitchen utensils, which gives clear indication that they actually cooked in this area.
Oh.
So ancient Mayans, they don't live like the way we do. They cook in one specific area and everyone would come here to eat. At home, we cook just for our household. So they
Here,
live
they cook for everybody on the
Yeah.
tribe.
Now, the house was only used for sleeping. They would use jaguar pelts and they would use cotton to make it comfy, a flat rock, and they would do the same, wrap that with the jaguar pelts and cotton to make it sort of like a pillow, and that's what they would sleep on, right on the floor.
Oh.
So when you look at the buildings, these are all homes. What you could have seen on top of these was an inverted V known as a coal bell arch, or wooden poles and attached leaves, like the palapas you see on the island.
Yeah.
That would have been on top of these buildings. Now let's come closer over here. There is temple B5 in the center. In the walls, you observe an opening in the shape of a T.
Mm-hmm.
Now the T shape is a symbol of the wind god. They refer to the
Wind
wind god
god.
as Ik. Now archaeologists have different speculations about this building. They all agree it was a home. Some believe it was a wind palace, and they believe it served as a ceremonial building also. Now, from wall to wall indicate room. Average height for Mayan would be 4 feet 6 inches. At the tallest, they would be 5 foot 4 inches. So they were very short people. So from wall to wall indicate as a room. Now behind that wall, there is 2 sunken area in the ground, a large one and a small one, believed to have been used to carry out a purification bath. Now before you do the piercings, you would send your servant into the jungle to collect some special herbs which you believe would purify your body. So they would crush that in the water and take a bath with it in there. And they would go up on top of the temple and carry on with their different rituals. So whatever you choose to believe about that building is pretty much okay. There was also a burial of a baby found in the flooring.
How do you know it's a baby?
well, baby
Ba-
bodies.
baby body, the
It was
bones.
a boy, and the skull was crushed.
Oh,
Now, cause of death is still unknown, but in the Mayan time, especially if you were in the elite family, they do skull modification. Now on the building there are 5 facial masks, 2 on that end, 2 right here, and 1 in the center. As we get closer, you would be able to have a better view of them. Now what they do, when the baby is born, the cranium is very tender. So the inner bark of the fig tree would have been made into cloth, and they would wrap the skull very tight. Some believe maybe a plank of wood would have been used to the forehead and 1 to the back. And they would wrap the skull, shaping it into the shape of a cone. Now, cross-eyed, they also had that. They would put bright beads, red or orange, between both eyes. Now, babies love bright colors. And they would stare and stare at it. Eventually, the muscles get weakened and they would have a cross eye and a perfect cone-shaped head when he or she reaches the age of puberty, which was a form of beauty.
Oh.
Now, by applying pressure to your skull, they believe it forces your pituitary gland to develop beyond normal capacity, which makes them much more intelligent than us. Now with the eyes crossed, they believe that they developed what we know today as a third eye to see into the future and see the four corners of the earth. Of course, the Mayans believed the earth was flat and square.
That's right.
Right.
For us, the earth is round. So they believed that they could see into the future, foretell their dreams and everything. So maybe in the process of modifying the skull of that baby, they wrapped it a little bit too tight and the skull was crushed. Or maybe that kid fall. These buildings are all made from stone, and if you fall and hit your head as a baby, it's definitely going to break.
Yeah.
The burial was tampered with. He was buried north to south. Ancient Mayans never bury in that fashion. They bury east to west, the way the sun rises and sets. Okay? Now, the temple of the sun god, or the temple of the masonry altar. This building shows you two representations of the underworld and two of the upper world. 9 stairs, 10 pillars, 9 entrances, all the way from there going up. There is 26 stairs. If you divide it by 2, you get 13. Now this building had 8 construction efforts, but there is only 6. I must tell you that Alton Hall was found by accident. Some of the locals that come in the area, they needed material to build the road and the flooring for their homes, and they thought they were mountains, so they took the rocks and they built their homes and they were happy. After 1961, Hurricane Hattie destroyed a lot of the Caribbean countries, and the government needed material to build the road. They came here too. And in the process of quarrying these temples, they found a large jade pendant, took it in, they found out it was jade. But the funny thing is, what was it doing here? It is not native to our country. So that's when they realized that something is up with this area. But by the time they seized the quarrying of this area, roughly 25 or 30% was destroyed. Now Temple B2, right to the back right there, was actually as tall as Temple A3. All of that was taken away. Now the road that you came on, the material that came from here built that road. Now if you look at this building all the way at the top, see the portion that sticks out? That's where the tomb, where the famous jade head was found. 2 local men working along with Dr. Prendergast in the year 1968 in the afternoon. Mr. Prendergast was not very happy. He did all the other buildings. He didn't find anything significant enough. So he decided to call the work off for the day. 2 local men decided to work a little bit more, and that's when they uncovered that tomb. They found over 800 pieces of jade objects inside there.
Wow.
The jade head, which was in the palm of the high priest and near the pelvic area, they found over 8 made of carved teeth. Now their teeth were fully intact with jade in them.
Oh,
All the burials that they found.
wow.
Now, jaguar pelt, eccentric flints, polychrome plates, seashells. Some of the seashells that were found inside this tomb came all the way from the Pacific Ocean.
Where are they now?
All the contents that were taken out, what the government of the day did, because back in the 60s we were still known as British Honduras. So they made an agreement that they tell Dr. Prendergast to take half of what he finds here as a payment. So half they went back, including the jade head. When we got our independence, 1981, that matter was taken to the court. And safe to say, we were successful in that process, and the jade head is now in Belize.
Oh.
Not in the museum. It's in a vault in Central Bank in Belize City, locked away. We do not have enough security forces to protect it, so they kept it locked away.
Okay.
It do comes on display whenever any Prince Charles or Queen Elizabeth or any person of high status would visit our country and they would request to see it, then they would place that on display.
Okay.
Now the jade head weighs 9 3/4 of a pound, about 6 inches in height, and almost 19 centimeters in circumference.
Oh, that's
A
big.
direct depiction of Kinich Ahal, which means the sun god. Now on the black market, there was a guy, very curious guy, he wanted to see what would be the value, if he could put a value to it. And they offered him up to $8 million if he had that in his possession.
Wow.
but it is the largest jade object ever found in the world of the Mayans, right here in this temple in Belize. Now, is there any questions?
What happened to the other half of the
Other half stayed here, and they have them. Some of it is in the capital, which is Belmopan, locked away in private collection, and there is some displaying in the museum in Belize City.
Okay.
Yeah, the museum out here, you're going to see original pieces made from flint. Yeah, no
Okay.
real jade is in the museum.
Okay.
Not enough security for that.
Yeah. So those of you who are going to climb, if you're not climbing, then you could take pictures